Tech lovers, welcome to Smart Tech. Now, the amazing news is that Innovation Village has organized a tech event that of course leads to a great startup for almost all the tech developers in East Africa. Now, the amazing news is that Andrew Barije was on ground to elaborate more and showcase what transpired at Innovation Village. It's an amazing event that you must keep up with.
Well explained exactly just what Clinton just said. We get to realize that actually in the past couple of years, there have been quite some massive developments when it comes to the technology. That is with the startups in our neighboring countries, that is within East Africa, that is to mention Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, and so many more. But however, the ultimate question is, how are these developments into these countries? How is it affecting the progress of the startup tech scene in the country, Uganda? And well, this is what we call the Shwari. This is an event organized by the Innovation Village, where the different innovators, most especially those that are doing startups, which, you know, those young innovations, they come up together, they meet up, they share ideas, see ways on how to break through. And some of the matters that were discussed in this soiree, in this tech meetup, was matters to do with regulations, most especially to the fintech side, and also the aspect of scams. You know, scams that is still into via the fintech. But we get to understand that the Innovation Village, through the soiree, has been quite very instrumental when it comes to mentoring these young innovations. But well, the place is, how best have you positioned yourself? Let's get into this real quick.
In the recent years, East Africa has emerged as a vibrant hub for technology startups, and Uganda is at the forefront of this burgeoning scene. The innovative spirit and entrepreneurial drive of young minds have created a remarkable impact on Uganda's startup ecosystem. Today, we explore the influence of the tech startups in East Africa on Uganda's entrepreneurial landscape, highlighting the significance of events like the Shwari, organized by the Innovation Village.
In Kenya, we know it for a very good, it's a good startup hub, yeah, and incubator of sorts. And basing that we are next to Kenya, you realize that companies or startups that begin in Kenya normally expand to Uganda because we are a neighboring country. And you find that because some Ugandans are based in Kenya and some Kenyans are also based this side, there is a way we collaborate, and which sort of opens Uganda as a new avenue for capital to come in. We have seen companies like Rocket Health being one of the companies that have raised good money. I mean, they raised like $5 million, right? I mean, that's already testimony that people are actually working, people are looking for capital and they are finding it. And there are actually many other testimonies besides Rocket Health which have grown because of being in a good ecosystem. So we are getting there slowly by slowly.
Looking at countries like Kenya, for example, gives us all the energy, because companies like Lipalater, M-Copper, like those big guys that are raising big money, really challenge you. We recently raised a pre-seed round of $1 million USD, and here it's big news. But when you go to a space like Kenya, that's okay, fine, comes, that's it, because they're raising bigger money. I think the money we raise here times 5 is when you get like on a rough estimate is when you get the money that startups in Kenya raise. And I think also the space also matters, because if an investor is investing in a Kenyan startup, they sort of have this mindset that Kenyans work hard, or they are fast-paced in their decision making, whatever. So we are trying to kind of imitate that we see in Kenya and implement it here locally in Uganda, so that we can also begin to bring the big monies in the economy.
What I can say about that is that we've been seeing a lot of brain drain and a lot of migration of people from our ecosystem, because there has not been much activity as compared to our neighboring countries. Now what we are trying to do is to do a combination of events that deliver value to people in our ecosystem. A number of them actually fly in, others international entrepreneurs. You will go there. If you're able to interact with one or two, you'll find that some, when they're in Uganda, they put this on their calendars and they're able to come and interact with others. So there are actually very many opportunities for people who attend, because you do not know who next to meet. And that is the importance of this, to spark an interest that the people in our neighboring countries or investors or other entrepreneurs want to find out what is happening in our ecosystem. So that is what at the core why we do, and we put a combination of these community engagements at the hub, to spark that level of interest, because it's very important in the long run.
Definitely, ecosystems of different countries, there's I don't know if I can call it a silent competition or it's not silent, but there's always that, that competition. We want to be proud of our ecosystem as Uganda. So when a startup like Zofikash raises $1 million, we're like, hey, Ugandan startups can. When a Kenyan startup raises its money, they're also like, oh, a Kenyan startup. So that's subtle competition. But, there's definitely benchmarking. And I think for us, we benchmark from those around us. And also we have ambitious benchmarks like the Silicon Valley startups. But here in Africa, the top ecosystem is Nigeria. I think every African startup ecosystem wants to emulate what Nigeria has done. They have produced unicorns. There are people that are innovating, the tech, the infrastructure, and they're privileged to have an economy that is big enough to support that kind of progress. We are soon getting there in Uganda. Definitely, we are not sleeping, we are not resting. Events like these, conversations like these, communities of people like this, people are doing amazing things here. If you do actually, look under the soil, people are doing tremendous things, amazing things. So, unfortunately, we have not been able to publicize that in a compelling way. If you're to ask anyone that's walking around the street, or what's a startup, Innovation Village, this, chances are they may not know. But that does not mean that there's no value happening. That does not mean that there's nothing happening. Things are happening, but we need to find a way as entrepreneurs to put that out. We're very closed in people. We're working, you're working. Like Steve Jobs, he was in his garage. We are always working on cool stuff and hiding it. But, with me and with Imaginary Line, what we want to do is to enable startups build in public. Yeah.
Uganda's startup scene has experienced a remarkable transformation, fueled by rapid advancements in technology. Entrepreneurs are leveraging digital platforms like mobile technology and internet connectivity to create innovative solutions that address local challenges and drive economic growth. As neighboring countries in East Africa witness the success of their tech startups, Uganda has taken note and embraced the opportunities offered by this dynamic sector.
I think Innovation Village has been really remarkable in the Ugandan startup ecosystem. It's easy to overlook, different activities, but once you talk about entrepreneur support organizations in the Ugandan ecosystem, what comes first? Innovation Village. It's not the oldest. It's not the that's in all areas, but what makes Innovation Village vibrant is its impact, its value, and that's what makes it compelling. Its community, that entrepreneurs that it has. So Innovation Village's value is Innovation Village has the network of people that are able to take a startup from point A to point B. They have the tools to help them. They have the human resource to help them. They have the networks to help them within and outside Uganda. So, ideally a startup needs many things for it to grow and thrive. They need investors. They need world-class tools when it comes to software, developing MVPs. They need a community of like-minded people. That's how innovation comes about. Someone has an idea of how to do this and has a different way of doing it. Putting it together, that's innovation. So Innovation Village has those tools that would help a startup go from point A to point B, and they also develop the founder, with their venture building programs and upskilling programs. The Innovation Village is always up to something to help the entrepreneurs here.
Africa is a very, very promising place, to be honest, because the thing is, there's a strong willingness to learn, right, and to also adopt new technology, right, and also we are segging into an era where 7 out of 10 of the youths that you'll meet are either utilize the technology in their personal life, right, or they're using it to build something in their community. So they're always looking at what can I infuse into my startup or my venture to take it to the whole other level, to the next level. So with the technology that is of course happening around us, to be honest, the least I can say is there's a lot of promise for partnership, right? There's a lot of promise for collaboration as well, but more importantly, there's a lot of promise for learning as well. Because, and of course, segueing back to the soirée, when people of a like mind come together, right, it changes the entire ballgame and scope, because you get to pick from different ideologies, different approaches, right, and you also get to basically get a handbook of how people are solving their problems in real time, right? So if we are in the same space and I am struggling with something, but you are at a different level than I am, right? Probably you started 3 years ago, I started 6 months ago. The regulations are definitely the same, right? So the struggles are the same. So I'll ask you, how did you deal with, let's say, your registration? What platform are you using for your payments, right? Between, I don't mean to mention some brands, but between brand A and brand B, which one has a better service delivery, right? So this definitely does inform our decision making at a way better level, but more importantly also it saves us a lot of time and finances in mistakes, right? Because if you're in technology, it can be really costly to get the wrong software, right? Software in the technology space is the most expensive thing for sure, right? So you want to make sure that you are spending your money in the right place and position, but most importantly, you're getting the highest value and return on investment for the software that you're using. And the only way you can be able to find that out is by consulting people that are in the space, that are using that software and other softwares, right? And also have been playing the game for longer. There is no need to reinvent the wheel. Right? The wheel is already there. The best we can do is to renovate the wheel, but we cannot innovate the wheel. Right? So to answer your question, Africa is very promising. We have a lot of potential. We have a lot of resources. We have a lot of bright minds. I have met some of the most amazing people, right, in my travels. If you are blessed and have the opportunity to get to move outside your own motherland, and you go to Kenya, you go to Morocco, right? I'm a huge Pan-Africanist, so I love to interact with other people in the African space that are doing what I am doing, right? And basically get to share insights on how we can take our continent to a whole other level.
Now, taking a look at the soirée. The soirée is a meeting organized by the Innovation Village in Uganda and has emerged as a pivotal platform for fostering collaboration among tech startups in the region. This gathering brings together entrepreneurs, investors, industry experts, and policymakers to exchange ideas, share experiences, and explore potential partnerships. By facilitating networking and knowledge sharing, the soirée enhances Uganda's competitiveness in East Africa's vibrant startup ecosystem.
We're organizing the Village Meetup, which is a monthly networking event for members of our community, entrepreneurs in the Ugandan ecosystem. So the impact of this event is basically to enable networking and market making in real time. Because when you are in a space like this, you can be able to connect with another in real time, find out what they do, and no one knows what the future holds. Tomorrow that could be a partnership, that could be a linkage to something that someone needs in their own startup. So while we create on these Fridays an unwinding event, but in a very intentional way, to enable them to connect with one another, because Monday to Friday, in the days of the week, 8 to maybe 5, everyone is busy working. But yet networking is one of the most pivotal parts of building a startup or anything in the life of an entrepreneur. So that's why this becomes very, very useful to the entrepreneurs and to what we do here at the village.
This community is very important because it is where we meet, And like the current startup policy that is being made, we get to talk about it casually, but also in a way that kind of brings out the real opinions that we have. You know, in boardrooms, it's very easy to really say your opinion because you're like, which investor is listening, which politician is listening. I don't want to step on this guy's toes, I don't want to step on this guy's toes. But here, it's even. Like we come and meet with big dogs and like us, the normal guys, like it's a fair, fine conversation. So we can always express ourselves and get laws that are friendly for the ecosystem. So again, the whole idea is about having that space to have normal conversations naturally.
Soiree is a product of the Innovation Village. It's something to grow the Innovation Village community, and the purpose of Soiree is an event where entrepreneurs, ideally startup entrepreneurs or startup founders, come together to have valuable conversations and to connect. That's why with Soiree it's a bit different from the other events that you usually find. The events are mostly in a conference setup. People just come, sit, and go. But in Soiree we intend to put together activities that engage people. The previous Soiree had a movie night, and the movie was a movie that had a lot of information and knowledge that the founders would take on, and it was fun. And we usually have a band here. It's something that, we try to break the ice where people can connect deeply, have meaningful, valuable conversations, and connect and network ideally. So that's the purpose of Soiree, and it's a concept that's growing, and people are compelled to attend it because it's not a conventional thing. Whenever you go to a conference, you come, you sit, you're quiet the entire time. Maybe you network a little bit when it's ending, but with this, now the Soiree of today, after the panel session going on currently, we're going to have a networking session that's intentional, and this is where we're going to have people, we're going to have mechanisms that make people interact. And there are people who come that are quiet but want them to also talk, want them to meet with the man on the panel, Ebon Amuri, about yellow card, want him to talk to them, to interact with them. So it's something what we want people to get the most value out of. So yeah, that's a bit about Soiree, and it's just to conclude, it's not particularly for tech, it is mainly for startup founders. Yeah, so most of these people here are startup founders, and what a startup is a business that you put together to grow fast. So startups are fast growing businesses, and they have characteristics like funding, innovation, and scaling. So these are all startup founders. Some may be in tech, some may be in agriculture, some may be in education, some may be in PR, but all these people are contributing to the ecosystem so that it can grow at a fast pace. So yeah, that's a bit about Soiree. Yeah.
So the importance of soirees is information, right? And information is segging the evolution of today, right? So if you are informed, or perhaps if you keep learning and unlearning information, right, you put yourself in a way sweeter position and place to transition with the current affairs of the world, right? So just recently I was listening to one AI song from Drake, right? So the thing is, there's a whole concern about artificial intelligence, but what I would like to say on that, segging to the Soiree, is that our viewers right now should not worry about what artificial intelligence will do against them, but rather what they can do with artificial intelligence, right? Because there is no point in worrying about how it is going to replace you or take away the role that you are performing right now, because it will never, right? Technology at the end of the day is there to assist us, but more importantly, to create conveniency, right? So at the end of the day, you need to ask yourself, how can I fuse the technology or perhaps the artificial intelligence that is evolving around me to support my work and to enable me do my work faster, right? So the essence of the Soiree, I was speaking again with Don, and he's a very intelligent guy, to be honest. I know, Don, if you're watching this, I always tell you every single time, you are a very brilliant gentleman for sure. But the essence of the soiree is basically to, one, enable people unwind from the week, because to be honest, it can be quite a hectic week, right? There's a lot of things that can happen in 5 days, yeah, that could be quite tight on your mind. So the essence of the soiree is to help people unwind, but more importantly also to give them a piece of information that they can digest, right, from people that are practicing in the fields that are of their interest, right? Because it can be very hard to track down, let's say, the CEO of Zofikash, right? He is right with us in the room as we speak, right? You may never get the opportunity to meet him physically, but with events like this, it attracts these kinds of people, and you can be able to actually network with them. If you have something for them, you can get to pitch them, you can get their number, right? So it's more than just unwinding, but also getting to enable people from different walks of life and capacity to interact with one another. So that's the goal of the soiree.
It's going to be very productive. I think people in the tech space, I understand when somebody has finished university and they have like an innovation, an idea, and they're looking for cash, man. They want money to grow it, yeah, to scale. And that's those are one of the things we're going to be talking about from the capital raising, yeah, because a company like Yellow Card we have raised over $50 million of funding in the 3 years that we have been. And of course, I would definitely, I'm open to sharing about how that was done and the KPIs set when actually you raise funding, or even how you meet these people, yeah, how you engage with them, yeah, what your idea needs to be like before you start pitching, right? So it's going to be a very productive event.
As a young innovator, I am very positive that you must have enjoyed the first session of this event, and I believe there is so much more that we have to show you. But we shall cut shortly for a commercial break, and we will be back to give you more about what transpired on this event. I'm sure you will enjoy so much more. Stay connected, stay tuned.